الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين.
You recognize the brother?
Of course, when he comes in, inshallah, we will. So today is a little detour from our tafsir of Surah Al-An'am, and I wanted to talk a little bit about another topic, inshallah, that we hopefully will find useful. In the past, we have actually touched a little on the sins that we commit towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala versus those that we commit towards our fellow man. And although the former are committed towards Al-Ali al-Qadir, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are at the same time committed towards Al-Ghafur al-Rahim. So you stand a good chance of having maghfirah and rahmah from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala towards whatever sins that you have committed towards Him. And before we continue, this is Sayyid Bashir. He is the first comer to our evening lecture. We're welcoming him. This is Brother Shakib. Shahid. Mr. Qadri. Shahid. Ruhan. And Mr. Abbas.
So he's Shakur's uncle, is it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From Umar Farouk. Yeah.
So, brother, we can address you as Saeed?
Yes.
Saeed, okay.
Because my brother and my father passed away when I was about 2 months. My parents passed away, but the grandfather of Shakur take me as a child and raised me as son. His mom gave me milk. We're brothers.
Subhanallah.
The only difference is I'm with my book and Shajara and the family of Prophet, and Saeed means.
Yes.
So we welcome Sayyid, inshallah, with
Yes.
us, and hope to see him also.
Because there's a Shaykh, there's a confusion because sometimes people doesn't know me. Abdul Rahim said Abdul Rahim, and I said Sayyid Bashir. We both brothers.
Yes,
People
but the names are not coinciding, right?
They said,
Right.
that's all. But his mom has gave me milk,
No,
raised me.
No.
We're brothers.
alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Okay.
Actually, what we're talking about is about this brotherhood also,
Yeah.
but in a broader sense. As we said that your sins that you commit towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stand a better chance for being forgiven than those that you commit towards your fellow man. And the reason being that your fellow man is not as forgiving as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And on the Day of Judgment, a person who you are indebted to will cling to your neck until he gets even with you. So, in that regard, I want to remind myself and remind you about حقوق العباد, the rights of your fellow man. And by saying so, I want to say that, like Brother Sayyid was mentioning now, we are all brothers. We are all brothers. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Hujurat says what he Shaykh Shakib, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةٌ. Believers are nothing but brothers. Nothing but brothers. فَأَصْلِحُوا بَيْنَ أَخَوَيْكُمْ. So mend fences between your brothers if they are disrupted somehow. طيب. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam echoes that same notion when he says, Al-Muslimu akhul Muslim. A Muslim is a brother to his fellow Muslim. Al-Muslim akhul Muslim. But then the hadith goes on to elaborate further. So Allah, the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, La yadlimu, doesn't do him injustice. Wa la yaslimu, doesn't hurt him by words or by deeds. ولا يسلمه لا يظلمه ولا يسلمه. And then the Nabi also elaborates further by saying that والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه, which translates to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be on your aid so long as you are on the aid of your fellow Muslim brother. That's a big يعني, testament from the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that if you help your fellow Muslim brother, that none other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will be helping you. That's a winning formula right there. You must be winning there. You do a little help to a fellow human being and you get the help from none other than Allah. Subhanallah.
The fellow Muslim also entails family members.
Of course. These are أولى. الأقرباء الأقربون أولى بالمعروف. الأقربون أولى بالمعروف يعني the ones that are closer to you are more worthy of your good deeds.
Okay.
طيب. المسلم أخو المسلم لا يظلم ولا يسلم. And والله في عون العبد ما كان العبد في عون أخيه. طيب. Not only that, and also ومن فرج عن مسلم كربة من كرب الدنيا فرج الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. He who relieves a hardship of this dunya for his fellow Muslim, here is the promise. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will relieve a hardship of his on the day of judgment. Yet again, a much better reward than the act itself by far. No comparison. Because the hardships of Yawm al-Qiyamah are severe, are harsh, and we don't want to subject ourselves to those. So Allah is telling you, there is a way out. You see a Muslim in a hardship in this dunya, help him get out of it. And I will get you out of a hardship on that day. يوم تشخص فيه الأبصار, when eyesight are frozen. Subhanallah. ومن فرج عن مسلم كربة من كرب الدنيا فرج الله عنه كربة من كرب يوم القيامة. ومن ستر مسلما في الدنيا ستره الله في الدنيا وفي الآخرة. Satr. We all pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us satr. Satr meaning what? Cover, right? If you cover for a Muslim in this dunya, Allah will cover you for you in here and in the hereafter. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Cover meaning their faults? Cover means what? Their
meaning you don't disclose
right.
his defects or
right.
bad attributes.
Cover their faults.
Yeah.
Now, for example, in another hadith, there was a man, his name is Hazzal. Not a really good name. It's derived from Hazara, and Hazara is meaning kidding, to kid. So the name is Ism Fa'il, meaning is somebody who is a kidder, probably a nickname. And he was talking to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam about a man from a tribe known as Aslam, رجل من قبيلة Aslam. And he's telling Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that man has committed zina. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam looks the other way when he's being told. That was his way when approached by something that he doesn't want to address. He would, look the other way. But then the man insists. And when somebody insists, then finally Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam has to respond. And finally, Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam tells Hazzal what? Subhanallah. لو سترته بثيابك لكان خيرا له. This is a guy who's committing adultery. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling the witness, he's telling him, had you just gone there and with your own clothes covered him up, it would have been better off for you. You see, ya Shaykh? Such is the case. Because, subhanallah, one of the very bad publicities that come towards us as Muslims comes from this area of hudud, retributions. What is Islam? Those who hate Islam, they the Islam that they cut the hands and they stone to death and they whip the backs and right? Indeed, these are hudud. We are not denying that these are hudud in the Quran Kareem and in the Sunnah Sharif. And indeed, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam did do rajm in his time, and Sahaba did rajm as well for a committer of zina wal-iyaz billah. But did you know that all of these, well, by the way, they are very rare occasions. They are not a daily happening. But on those very rare occasions, it was invariably by confession of the person who committed the act. Because there are only two ways that you can have a retribution against this sin. One is by confession. He would come or she would come and say, I did that. Or how? By witnesses. And in this case, 2 witnesses are not sufficient. You need 4 witnesses. And for all practical purposes, that is almost an impossibility. Because not only would you need 4 people to come and say that, yeah, you know what, we heard that this guy was going to that bad house of ill repute or something. That's not sufficient. What is sufficient, Ya Shaykhana?
You have to see it.
You have to see it with your own eyes in the act. In the act. And not only in the act, make sure that there is this
In the course, actually.
absolute affirmation of the act is in. How can you do that? Almost impossible. Almost impossible. So, on the very rare occasions, it was because of the confession of the person. And this is why Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam told Hazrat, if you had just covered him with your own clothes, you would have done better for yourself. And also, because there is tawbah. There is tawbah. In the Medina, there was a woman who came and confessed to Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam. And they had to do rajm. They had to do rajm because she was a thayyib. She was a married woman. And after she was executed, Umar ibn Khattab was talking to Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam in a derogatory manner about that woman that was executed. And what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam told him, Ya Umar, لقد تابت توبة لو وزعت على 70 من أهل المدينة لكفتهم. This woman that you are talking badly about, because of her act, had made tawbah before she faced the retribution. That tawbah was so great and accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that if it were to be distributed among the residents of Medina, the entire Medina, it would have been sufficient. It would have been sufficient to take care of every one of those. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So, this is just a side point to affirm the fact that Islam is not out there waiting for us to commit, to slip into that so that we'd be caught and we'd be hammered with al-hudud.
But regarding this very point, it's a very important point, so I have a couple of questions. Was the Prophet, peace be upon him, saying that had she performed tawbah after the act and not discussed with me that Allah would have forgiven
not confess.
And not confessed, the matter would have been closed.
Absolutely.
But if she confesses and does tawbah in the presence of the Prophet, peace be upon him, does that also mean that, okay, she's done tawbah, she has to be forgiven or
No.
Okay,
She's
because...
not, that's why she was really executed by the Had, by the Raj,
So what
stoning.
so it means that
Because in Nabi
it is
alayhi
between you and Allah.
that's right,
It's between you and Allah.
between you and Allah.
Subhanallah.
And we have talked about before
Yes.
the fact that the tawbah is open for
Oh.
all.
Alhamdulillah.
And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives everything. In Allah لا يغفر أن يشرك به ويغفر ما دون ذلك لمن يشاء في سورة النساء when we started that. Remember? Allah forgives everything except يعني associating with Him subhanahu wa ta'ala. That He does not forgive. But anything else is forgiven. And we actually had the debate about murdering another Muslim deliberately, and is that also forgiven or not? And we showed the views of different scholars about that. Anyway, that's another point. But the main point here is that in the hadith, al-Muslim wa akhul-Muslim, the hadith, the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam also said in a narration, وَبِحَسْبِ امْرِئٍ مِنَ الْإِثْمِ أَنْ يَحْقِرَ أَخَاهُ الْمُسْلِمِ. Enough sin committed by a Muslim, it is that he would belittle or look down upon his fellow Muslim brother. يحقر, حقر. That's the noun is حقير, meaning demeaned. Allahu Akbar. Yani, and that belittling doesn't have to be in a direct way. Yani, it could be in many ways. One of the even slightest ways that you may not even give or note to or pay attention to is between you and yourself. Yani, between me and myself, I would look at the person and say, I'm better than him. For whatever reason. And most likely, people, when they do tafakhur, they do compete about worldly matters, it's about who has the more money, who has the better house, who has the better job, or things like that. Tafakhur. A matter of just showing off. But there is also a situation wherein you can take this one step further by saying, I may see a person who is in a state of sin, and I am here in the Jamia, sitting with my fellow Muslim brothers, we're praying together and we're worshipping Allah, and I feel, I am better than him. It's also critical that you realize that this is also a form of belittling your fellow brother. And it's well understood by everybody, I take it, that you don't know how that person may end up after all. So today he's in a bad place. Maybe he makes a tawbah like this woman in Medina, and Allah accepts him, and he will be better than me. Mushkil. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam teaches us that إنما الأعمال بالخواتيم أو بالخواتيم. Deeds are measured by their endings, by their conclusions. It may be nice that we are all here together in the masjid today on this Friday night, and we are going over some matters of our deen, Quran and Hadith. But how are we going to end our life on this earth? We don't know. And we have seen, and you probably have seen in your personal experiences, people who were on the righteous path for the longest time, and then towards the end of their life, subhanAllah, with grey hair and all, they flip, and then they die on a state that is not favorable. And vice versa. You have seen people, of course, that were going left and right in this world, and then towards the end, subhanAllah, he makes a hajj and comes back, and another person is, right? Another person is in front of you. That happens all the time. It happens all the time for us. And we see that in our daily lives. So, you don't know how you're going to end. or how that person, that other person that you are belittling is going to end up. So there is no reason for us to, enough of a sin it is. This is how Nabi expressed it. Enough of a sin it is. بحسب امرئ من الإثم أن يحقر أخاه المسلم. نعم يا شيخ.
But isn't it human nature where you always think
نعم.
a fellow person is doing less than you or you better than them?
Yeah.
Because whatever, even though you made an effort or whatnot, but
أيوة.
it comes in your heart at least. It may not show up, but it's up to you to control it, right?
Absolutely. It's
That's
your responsibility to check yourself here.
Yeah, yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
Now,
So
because you will be committing a big sin
Right.
if you continue looking at other people that way. And that happens all the time in matters of deen. We see it all the time.
Yeah.
And we've spoken, I think, about, I did a khutbah here about maqasid al-sharia, right, Sheikhna? Were you attending in that?
I think
No,
so.
you didn't. And we were talking about the intent of the legislation, and my question was, do you think that a Muslim with a beard is better than a Muslim without a beard, right? That's a very simple question. But you will find that there are some people who stick to the appearances and letting go with the more important core of this deen. Huh? What? Again, we are not belittling the fact that there is a sunnah about the lihya. There is a hadith, yet indeed there is. But how does that compare in its importance with another hadith, for example, that says, إن الله لا ينظر إلى صوركم وأجسامكم ولكن ينظر إلى قلوبكم وأعمالكم. Allah does not look at your features and your bodies, but instead He looks into your hearts and your deeds. Right. These are two hadiths. Are they contradicting to one another? Let me just ask the question. The first one is saying, أحفوا اللحى أحفوا الشوارب وأعفوا اللحى. Cut the mustaches and leave the beard. That's the hadith. The other hadith says, Allah doesn't look at your appearances and your outward looks, but looks into the inside of you and the hearts and the deeds. There is a contradiction here or not?
No, not for me.
Well, how so?
Because we just said, you want to follow a sunnah, that's up to you. Do it, more power to you.
Tamam.
But you have no right to belittle somebody who's not doing that.
Tamam.
So I don't see any contradiction.
And as a matter of priority, where would you place these two ahadith in terms of priority for the life of a Muslim? The a'mal and the hearts versus the beard or the jilbab and how long or short it is. مش كده؟ مش كده؟ Yes, you say.
Some Jewish people have beard.
Same thing.
Christian, what's the name is Sikh people have beard.
Nah. As a matter of fact.
It's a matter of hearts.
Absolutely.
Whatever you have in the
Not
heart.
only that, a few years back, one Sikh guy in New York City was beaten to death for being mistaken as a Muslim when there was that anti-Muslim sentiment at the time. Subhanak Allahumma Rabbi. مش كده?
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah. When the time I was driving a taxi in San Francisco, 2011, the guy was driving with us taxi. He was a Sikh guy.
Yeah.
He went to Arizona buy a gas station. He get killed over there because of the 9/11.
Well,
Right.
and Arizona,
But he
there is
was
also a
a
lot
Sikh.
of...
He has nothing to do with
Nothing to do
Muslim.
with Islam. And of course, again, we explained that. I don't want to just go over it again and again, but we explained that the intent of the command has to be understood. And it's in the hadith, in one of the narration of the hadith, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, أحفوا الشوارب وأعفوا اللحى خالفوا المجوس at the end of the hadith. Meaning what? Meaning go opposite to the disbelievers. المجوس هم عبدة النار, the worshippers of fire, people in Persia at the time. خالفوا المجوس, يعني مخالفة أهل الشرك is the intent of the hadith there, of the lihya and the sharib, right? To have a different look. And at the time there was يعني warfare and confrontations and this and that, and it was important that a Muslim would look at some other person and say, he's like me. Just like people in warfare, an army has a uniform, for example, right? So that you don't kill one of your own.
Right.
That's the thing. طيب مخالفة أهل الشرك, to be different from the disbelievers, that was an intent at the time that may no longer be a requirement today. May no longer be a requirement today, right?
Yeah,
So,
just, sorry to interrupt.
طبعاً،
It's just like for namaz, you can just keep
طبعاً.
your arms straight.
you lay your
and
arms
do
down, you
like
put them
this,
here, you put them
It's
here.
all a matter of niyyah.
Nah, it's all a matter of niyyah, and it's a these are all matters that are actually superficial,
Exactly.
including the beard. It's one of those things that is an appearance matter. It is not at the core of your deen. Why يعني, cling to the branches and not pay attention to the core and the roots of this deen? We should be looking the other way around, right?
A person without a beard can enter Jannah, but I think a person with a sick heart cannot enter Jannah.
Allah yaftah alayk, ya Shaykh Shakir. Allah yaftah alayk. You see, indeed, that is true. Because somebody who has pride, for example, vanity. Remember, you have to have enough vanity to belittle your fellow Muslim, right? And Hadith says what? لا يدخل الجنة من كان في قلبه مثقال ذرة من كبر. مثقال ذرة من كبر. An iota of vanity or pride in your heart prevents you from getting into Jannah. Prevents you from getting into Jannah. Done.
Can you translate the other verse that the Prophet, peace be upon him, said regarding the matter of don't belittle somebody? You were saying something in Arabic that are the words of the Prophet, peace be upon him.
نعم بحسب امرئ من الإثم أن يحقر أخاه مسلم. Enough of a sin it is that a Muslim belittles his fellow Muslim brother. Enough of a sin committed.
Okay.
Okay. And we went about that regarding worldly matters such as wealth or what have you, and into matters of deen as well. And we mentioned the hadith that matters are measured by the conclusion, not by the starts, right? It's like a marathon, for example. At the beginning, maybe 20 miles or so, you may be behind in the race, right? And a lot of runners are ahead of you. That doesn't mean that you're losing. It means that you still have a strategy to pick up speed and pace towards the finish line. That's what they do in marathons, right? They just keep a normal pace until they get to that very last stretch, and they make sure that they hit the finish line first. That's how it is in our life.
Yes.
We want to do that, yes, Sayyid.
Number one, can you just say one more time the hadith Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, don't put no beard?
نعم. أحفو الشوارب وأعفو اللحى. أحفو الشوارب meaning
Shave your
Shave.
mustache.
shave your mustaches. وأعفو اللحى يعني spare the beard.
Okay.
Direct translation. Spare the beard.
Spare. And the other one, so that's it.
Another one about
The beard. Like you don't have to have a beard, or no, you have to have a beard.
it's a sunnah to have a beard. It's a sunnah. But then the intention was to be different from the disbelievers in the appearance.
To
At the
distinguish
time,
yourself.
to distinguish yourself,
Yeah.
your appearance as a Muslim, right? So, for example, well, how many of us are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 of us are bearded today, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not.
No, mine is better than yours.
Yours is better than mine, that's for sure. That's for sure.
But mine is better looking.
I don't know about that.
But his is better because it's longer too. And then you get into the splitting hairs, no pun intended, by saying how long is the beard supposed to be so that it would be a legitimate beard, right? And believe you me, there are people who spend their time talking about that. And they will tell you, well, that's not good enough beard. For a beard to be counted as a beard, you have to hold it with your hand, and some of it will have to come, yani,
Right there.
underneath
Yeah,
your
the
palm.
time of Taliban took over Afghanistan.
Nah.
They just come in here, grab you.
That's it.
If he does
There
not
has to
come in
be some of
here,
that.
take him over there and slam him.
Nah. You see? And then again, there are interpretations of the hadith. For example, well, again, we're saying 1, 2, 3, 4 are doing that. That's not true, because what we're doing, actually, if you look at the 4 of us, is we're obeying half of the hadith, which is regarding letting the beard, but we haven't shaved our mustache.
Right. That's
The
what
first
I'm
part
telling
of the
you.
hadith we didn't do. مش كده؟
بس هو لا حف الشارب مش شيب للشارب.
نعم.
No, no.
That's another interpretation.
No.
A good interpretation.
There are two hadiths. I think.
What?
One is shape and one is huf.
Now,
Is when you just cut over your lip.
now, that is what he's saying is true. One of the interpretations of the hadith is to shave completely, and another interpretation is to just trim. Just trim. You see? But if you want to go with the dogmatic shaving, then you will have this done and only the beard straight. And to be honest with you, in the custom of today, that's an odd look. If you think about it. That shaved, completely shaved stash and a beard is an odd look. So there was a reason for that look at the time. That reason became defunct. خلاص. مش كده؟
It's expired.
It's expired, خلاص. Let it go and don't waste. So why do people do that? Why do they talk about how long is your jilbab and how tall is your beard and this and that? Why?
Because they have made the religion a matter of rituals and appearance,
An appearance.
and nothing to do with the essence of the religion.
And because taking a certain appearance is a very easy thing, right? It's easy to let the beard grow. What is there in terms of an effort, real effort, to go through? Nothing, right? Same way if you wear a certain outfit or whatever. So this is like the Nescafe instant coffee. You just add water, right, and you have a ready-made cup of coffee, right? So it's easy to make yourself into a certain look that convinces yourself that you are, mashallah, you are good, right? And by the same token, we don't want to, again, it's very important. It's very important to note that we are not saying that following the sunnah is not a good thing at all. That's not the intent. The intent is to say that prioritize your deen. Look at what is more important and take strides towards that. And let the other stuff behind. So for example, what Shahid mentioned a while back regarding the salah is quite valid. For example, I knew of people actually in the past, that was many years ago, and that was an eye-opener for me at the time. It was late 70s, early 80s when I first came to this country, and we were praying, and we had two of the Muslim brothers who were both Hafiz of the Quran al-Kareem, mashallah, was a great thing. But at the same time, neither of them would pray behind the other. They would refuse completely. Why? Because one believes that when you stand in the prayer, your hands should be at your chest, like that, and the other says that it should be just about the area of your belly button right there. For that reason, Wallahi Rahman, they would not pray behind one another.
Unbelievable.
طيب. This is a matter of a sunnah, and there are different مذاهب. يعني الحنفية pray one way, Shafi'iyya pray another way, and Malikiyya pray with hands down, right? Hands down completely. Right? But you also need to know, again, what's behind these differences in al-madahib is very important, because enough already of difficulties that we face as Muslims to bring in the madahib as another reason for why we should be even farther apart. For example, Imam Malik, he used to pray with his hands down. But did you know that the reason why he did that was that when he was in prison, and by the way, all of them, they were in prison and they were tortured. Abu Hanifa was, and Malik was as well, and Hanbal too. So he was tortured while he was in prison, to the extent that one of his hands was paralyzed. So it had to stay down. It had to stay down. When you follow Malik or you follow Shafi'i, you have to understand what's behind that, right? Abu Hanifa himself, the founder of al-fiqh, there was no fiqh before Abu Hanifa. He established al-fiqh, fiqh al-Islam. And he said, on occasion, he who does not know our rationale in a certain mas'ala, a certain matter, should not follow our lead. Man lam yafham. He should not follow. If you don't understand why the Imam Abu Hanifa chose this position in this particular matter, you should not follow. Because then you're just being dogmatic.
Right.
You're just being dogmatic,
Right.
right? You just do what Abu Hanifa did, but you don't know why he said do it this way, right? And there are differences, but those differences, bifadlillahi al-azim, are always differences in the branches and the tributaries. They are never differences at the core, subhanallah. And this is by the grace of Allah that this deen was preserved at its core. There is no difference.
So
What is the roots of this deen
Yes.
are never in question. You will never find anybody disputing matters regarding how many rak'ahs is an asr. No, right? These are things that are, ulama call them al-ma'lum min ad-din bil-darura, that which is essentially known of matters of a deen. Sayyid.
Just mention you, I was about 2012, I went to Dubai.
Dubai,
Yeah. I went to
a
Dubai.
beautiful country, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was living in Sharjah.
Sharqa.
Sharjah, we call him Sharjah.
Nah.
Yeah. We will live over there for about 3 or 4 months. When I was stand up every day praying, the end of Alhamdulillah, the end of Alhamd, everybody said Ameen, Ameen. Okay, it came in my mouth, Ameen, Ameen. So that was the day of Eid Qurban, People told me, hey, let's go to Afghanistan. People is poor over there. We go kill a sheep, kill a couple cow, give to the people and come back. It was like poor people. I said, yeah, let's go. I went over there. So it was like a village. So everybody's Hanafi over there. No another religion, only Hanafi. So I was sitting over there because I had intention to coming in here to kill the sheep and coming. So I'm coming over there when the Imam finished the Alhamd and I said loud, Ameen, because it's come in my mind. Still I learned from
that was very odd at the time.
Oh man, you know what? After prayers is over, the Imam coming just says, come here. I said, yes. I said, which religion you are? And I said, I'm Alhamdulillah Hanafi. Well, you change your religions. You make our prayers haram, and then you change your religion, you have to get $80.
What?
No.
Yeah. I have, because I become a kafir, I have to get $80.
My God.
Yeah, this is the good story. You guys listen. Oh,
Of course we do.
Okay. Yeah. And then I am sitting with 6 or 7 people there with a bodyguard and machine guns. And the Imam sitting over there was another guy with 6 or 7 people with machine guns. Yeah, he's American, he's coming in here, he make our prayers haram, and then they stand them loading the guns. And this guy is starting loading the guns. That's a serious story.
Oh my God.
I said, sir, I'm Hanafi, I've been in America since 1977. I come to Dubai to learn Quran. They told me to come in here for killing the lambs or cow, give them to poor people and go back. That's all about it. Because in Dubai, everybody said the end of Alhamdulillah, it's in my mind. Like I keep doing this for almost, like be doing this for like every day doing, and I'm sorry I make a mistake. You know what? Finally, they are coming down almost this much to want to kill me.
My God.
Yeah, this much, almost. The gun was loaded, gun was pulling. It was Kalashnikov was starting learning because I said, Amin, the end of Akbar. And I'm a kafir. No, Shaykh, I'm not dead yet.
No.
So I'm finished and I go back to my friend's house, and one of the guy buying all the time from has a parts. He's a Shia.
Uh-huh.
He come to me because we're the family of Prophet. He said, no.